Good evening, ladies and germs. All right, guys. Everybody's been waiting for a Tuttle update, and I am here to give it. Um, I've also got some still photographs and video I will roll while I'm talking, so you don't have to listen to just me. Okay, let's click out of that. And so, nope, that didn't go quite the way I planned it. Let me try that again. Click, right click, open with. There we go. All right. So this is turning on to Harding Street, where the Tuttles live. Now remember, HPD initially said that these guys were dealing lots of drugs out of the house. There was activity coming and going, blah, 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 blah. I want you to look at this street. Right there where that dumpster pod thing is the Tuttles home. You cannot park. See these ditches? You cannot park or stand on this street with a vehicle without being drawing a lot of attention. All right, it's just not possible. So we know we now know that was all a lie, and anybody that went to the crime scene would have known it was a lie to start with. I mean, it's just not possible. Anyway, um, in March, the two of the main officers involved, Goines and Bryant, took retirement with full honors and left the Houston Police Department as heroes. Yes, I said that, as heroes. There was, within a week of the shooting, there was enough evidence gathered by the Houston Police Department to arrest Goines for making false affidavits and official oppression, at the very least. However, they did not do that. Instead, uh, Chief Acevedo allowed Goines and Bryant to both retire as heroes with full benefits, costing the taxpayers of Houston, hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars in benefits and pay. It's wrong. It's absolutely wrong. But this is what crooked cops do for other crooked cops. You know, if they're in a jam and they're in trouble, well, let's just get them to retire and protect them that way. And that's what they do. Um, Now, there were some things that occurred that I have not talked about up to this time, and there's a reason for it. The family's attorneys have all my video footage, and after viewing that, they could tell that they needed to bring an independent forensics team in. That independent forensics team came in and found that the Harris County Forensics Department, Bureau, whatever they call themselves, had done at the very least shoddy work in analyzing the crime scene. And of course, the crime scene was tore up by them, and that's typical. What they like to do is, destroy crime scenes so that nobody can come behind them and, you know, look at their work. And that is what they did here. However, even with that, um, the private teams were able to come in and piece together a lot of stuff that they had screwed up. Um, so the day of the incident, Chief Acevedo was there in minutes. Downtown headquarters is only like 10 minutes away from this scene. If he ran with emergency lights and siren, he probably got there 6 or 8 minutes. So you'll recall that one of the neighbors saw and heard a SWAT officer go to a rear window and shoot through that rear window 2 shots about 45 minutes to an hour after this incident had occurred. Those 2 shots were fired into Dennis Tuttle to make sure he was dead. What's not been talked about up to now is that, and all this happened while Chief Acevedo is standing on the street outside the house. Okay, and those gunshots, an AR, you can't miss that for miles. Okay, the gunshot, the sound of the shot travels a great distance, let alone 80 feet to where people are standing on the street. So two shots into Tuttle by the SWAT officer, and then the team, they had sent a robot in, and then they sent the team in. Now, when the team went in, very interesting. Team went in, all of them came out except for one person. One person stayed behind. And while that person was in the home unsupervised, there were two muffled pops heard. Muffled, like not the sound of a rifle, but maybe a small handgun. We believe, or it is commonly believed, that at that time they were planting a gun on Mr. Tuttle. The the lack of gunshot residue. He looked at the autopsy report. The lack of gunshot residue on his hands is very telling. Additionally, I'm a pretty good shot. Back in the 80s, I carried for some time a revolver. And I can tell you, I used to practice with that thing a lot. I'd go to the range every week and, burn up 400 to 500 rounds of ammunition practicing. And I mean, it's so bad that I started hand loading ammunition to support the bad habit, but, and I can tell you at that time to engage 5 people who were shooting at me would have been difficult. It'd probably be impossible for me now. Uh, just not that good anymore, and the eyes aren't what they once were. But and Tuttle's older than I am and disabled. But they want you to believe that this guy, under fire, got off 6 shots and wounded 5 different officers doing it. Anybody that shoots will tell you it's not. It didn't happen. Anybody that's ever been shot at, has been in a gunfight will tell you the guy'd have to be Superman. Didn't happen. All right, so 2 muffled pops. These are heard by 2 different neighbors. And, Houston PD has a history of planting guns on people. Nothing new. It's not just a one-time event or a 2-time event or a 3-time event. It has happened so many times I can't even count them. They've been caught planting guns. One that I remember was really funny. They killed a guy, planted a gun on him. The gun turns out to have been destroyed by the Houston Police Department property room. Never got destroyed. Guess it turns up planted on somebody. Yeah, good job, genius. All right, so Chief Acevedo is there. He's on the street. There's 2 pops. The other officer comes out. That gun, that's the revolver that nobody has seen yet. It's not listed anywhere as being confiscated. There's no documentation on it. No photographs have been released of it. Interesting. The most recent developments are that HPD was going to release a report, their findings on the incident. That didn't happen. They were supposed to provide the information about what happened to the district attorney's office. Didn't happen. District attorney had to go get a subpoena to get this stuff. All right. The only reason for HPD to be hiding that report is because it gives them up. That is it. Some still photographs I'll show you. This is a photograph from the kitchen. You can see bullet holes. Nothing, not a big deal, except that the investigators came in on these. The family hired investigators came in, and these are their markers. They are retrieving tons of evidence, or have retrieved tons of evidence that was left, including fired bullets that were left by the Harris County Forensic Bureau. That's how sloppy their work was. But then what would you expect? You wouldn't expect them to do a good job and cause some police officers to be arrested, would you? Can't have that, can we? This is the Tuttles bedroom. This wall right here faces outside. Um, Behind this picture right here on the other side of the wall is the entrance doorway. These are incoming bullet holes that you saw outside, at the end of that little video clip I played a second ago. This is the right-hand side of the front door. These bullets traverse this area and hit the wall here, penetrate, and are in the living room area. Now, in the living room area where these bullets are going are police officers standing there. Friendly fire. Remember I talked about friendly fire, or in this case, unfriendly fire, since there's possibility that this was a hit on one of the officers that went bad and failed. But the bullets come through the wall, penetrate this wall into the living room area. This is the Tuttles calendar hanging on a wall in their bedroom. Notice it's all blacked out except right up to that day. Pretty sickening. And we let these criminals retire. We didn't just let these guys retire. We let these guys retire with full benefits as heroes. That's what HPD calls them. Heroes. Hero officers. You know, I have no words to describe the level of disgust that I hold for this and what the Houston Police Department has done and allowed behind it. All right, so put up another picture here. Okay, this is where the dog that was shot, this is where he fell. There's some buckshot holes here, blood spatter there. This corner of the rug is cut out here for some reason. Don't know why. Harris County Forensics did that. But the most recent developments are that 14 police officers, 14 HPD officers have lawyered up. They went to the union and they said, we need lawyers. And so the union is providing them with lawyers. 14 officers. I think that really speaks to the level of corruption in this agency and how many people knew, were involved in, or indirectly involved in what Goines and Bryant were doing. And yet nobody made any effort to stop them. Nobody made any effort to prevent what they were doing. Why are these people still employed? Why are these people still on the street doing the same stuff that they were doing when this happened? Because that's what's going on. They didn't fire them. They didn't pull them off the street, didn't reassign them. They haven't done anything to them. These people are still out there doing the exact same thing they've been doing for years. Goines has been known not only by the Houston Police Department, but by the Harris County District Attorney's Office. He has been known for years for this. Years. Not days, not months, years. This was not the first time that he's been caught. This was not the first time he's been caught. Yet they didn't take him off the street. They didn't put him on the Brady list. They didn't do anything to protect us from him. Think about that. This could just as easily been your family, your daughter, your son, your mom, your dad. This could have been anybody. And it's not just Houston PD. It's common knowledge that this type of thing happens here in Harris County all the time. Getting fake warrants for people, using bad affidavits to obtain warrants to arrest people, search people's homes, etc., so forth. and the district attorney's office, they play right along with it. They're not doing anything. They're not doing anything to stop it. They're not doing anything to hold the officers that do it accountable. These officers are going out and ruining lives. Let me ask you something. So I'm going to give you an example. My arrest at Shell by the Harris County Sheriff's Department, that arrest for a misdemeanor charge cost me right at $10,000. Lawyer fees, bond, missed work, etc., so forth. Cost me about $10,000. How many of you have $10,000 to just give away for nothing? Because you're not getting it back. Even if you're found not guilty, you're not going to be able to sue the officer. They're going to use qualified immunity. $10,000. How many of you have that to just give away for nothing? The average person doesn't have it because we're not, the average person isn't these police officers making $200,000 a year, $100 an hour for an extra job. Okay. They need to feel like they are up here in the upper echelon. Okay. Because when they're up here in the upper echelon of society, running, rubbing shoulders with the rich people, they forget about the lower part of society, the poor people. And that's what this is really about. Do you think that this raid would have happened in River Oaks here in Houston? Never. It's happening in one of the poorest parts of the city. If this had been River Oaks, oh my God. Let me tell you, there'd been arrests already. There'd been all kinds of trouble for the officers that did this. And they know that, which is why it doesn't happen. So here we have another shot. Okay, so this is the trajectory of rounds that came through the door over to this wall. This is where this cover is on the couch, is where Regina fell. But the trajectory of these rounds is funny. The investigators initially thought that these rounds were fired through a window over here outbound. But as they looked at it more closely, what they found was the window that's over here, the rounds came through the window going towards the front door. The front door is right there. Regina's down here. There's an officer at this window shooting at the officers, 5 officers, 4 or 5 standing right here in this area. You wonder why somebody thinks it's a hit? Doesn't make any sense, does it? The other officer that was firing from outside through that wall and then penetrated the wall would have been, these rounds would have come in over about right here. All right, so click out of that. All right. So where do we stand at this point? Well, we're 6 or 7 months in. No officer has been arrested. No officer has been charged, indicted, nothing. Nothing has been done except a whole bunch of talking. That's all that's been done. Hey, we got the FBI involved. Well, guess what? We all know what the FBI is and what they do. How many videos of mine have you seen that involve the FBI? Duh. 14 officers lawyered up. And that's just the tip of the iceberg. If there's 14 that have lawyered up that we know about, how many more corrupt ones are there out there? It's going to be hundreds, because we're just getting the tip of the iceberg. Think about that. 14 officers had to lawyer up. 14. That means at least 14 people knew what was going on. 14. You know, I hear a lot of talk about good cops, and I generate a lot of talk about good cops myself. But if you know this stuff is going on and you don't do anything, you're not a good cop. You don't intercede to stop bad cops. You're not a good cop. You're just as bad as they are, if not worse, because you run around telling people what a good guy you are, good person you are. If you know something is being done wrong, and I understand, I get it. You come forward, it could cost you your career, but that's what you signed up for. Remember, you're out here risking your life. You're a hero. You're out here risking your life to protect citizens. But if you're covering for a crooked cop, that's not protecting us. That's not helping us. That's not doing your job. Talk about putting your life on the line, then get up and do it. Maybe you lose your job. Maybe you lose your career. But if enough people do it, we can bring this to a stop. And it's got to stop, because if it doesn't, there's only one way left for the average citizen to go. Remember, we have the Second Amendment for a reason. It's to stop tyranny in government. It's to stop heavy-handed government tactics. It's to stop bad cops, because they are the armed leg of the government. They are the policy enforcers, not law, policy enforcers. That's what they become. And in some instances where they work for private corporations, they're nothing more than mercenaries. Deer Park Police Department. Don't get me started. So, all right, guys, I'll wrap this up. That is all that there is at the moment. If if more information comes available, I will get it to you. At this point, there's not a lot being said about it, because they want people to forget. They want people to forget that 2 people were murdered by the police in their home. They want you to forget that that poor dog, which wasn't a pit bull, that's the lie that's being told. It wasn't a pit bull. 35-pound mixed breed dog. That poor dog that dared to bark at armed intruders. That poor dog that put his life on the line for his owners. Yeah, he did what the cops claim they do all the time. Put his life on the line for his owners, for his family, and was murdered protecting his family. They need to give that dog a badge. That's what they need to do. And you need to stop calling the Tuttles criminals. The Houston Police Officers Association, that's all I talk about, criminals, criminals, criminals. These people weren't criminals. They were victims. They're victims of the Houston Police Department and the corruption that's in that department. And I know a lot of you are going to, I'll see it in the comments, I'm sure. Aren't you a Acevedo fan? Aren't you an Acevedo fan? Up until this incident, I was. But I've really seen exactly what, the Blue Brotherhood's about, and how Art Acevedo is participating in protecting these people. You're not bringing justice for the family and the Tuttles. He's protecting his officers, and that's wrong. Guys, I'll see you again soon.